Have you heard the use of the word contempt a lot recently? I think it's been used in quite a few articles that I've read in the media, the alternative, and not so much, I would say, the mainstream media. So I want to talk today about a topic that I think is very important. I've called it the anatomy of contempt. Now that is a bit of a borrow from a slight rip-off from a book by William Ian Miller, which was actually originally called The Anatomy of Disgust. According to what it says on here, book preview, William Miller embarks on an alluring journey into the world of disgust, showing us how it brings order and meaning to our lives, even as it horrifies and results us. Originally published 1997. That review, by the way, is by Google Books / Goodreads. Okay, order and meaning to our lives, even though it horrifies and disgusts us. Well, couldn't you say the same for contempt as well? Doesn't the anatomy of contempt bring order and meaning to lives and situations? Let's use a live and terrible example. Grenfell House fire. How do we see the anatomy of contempt at work there? Well, first, we see the contempt that the managing agents and the council held ordinary residents in from day one. We see them absolutely viewed with and seen through the lens of contempt. Ordinary people, people from all nations, all races, all ethnic backgrounds, all colours, living in the richest borough in London, but viewed by their elders, their betters, their decision makers, the people in charge of the funds, the money, the people who matter, the people who decide. Their complaints were viewed with contempt. Absolute contempt. Have you been viewed with contempt? Have you watched others view other people with contempt? I certainly would say there is contempt in the Department of Workfare and Punishment, the DWP. I'd say their contempt is the kind of contempt that sends people for a work capability assessment and then decides that a person is fit for work, and then within a month or two or weeks of that decision, they wind up dead. I'd say that shows contempt. I'd say contempt is shown for nurses having to use food banks. I'd say that shows contempt. Absolute contempt. Yeah? Somebody being treated as less important than anybody else. Do you know the one thing you don't tend to see a lot of contempt about? And that is contempt for the rich. Somehow it's not kind of right to regard the rich with a view of contempt. It's somehow not right that you should be contemptuous of your Rachman landlord who is coining in loads and loads of money in expanded, extortionate rents, yeah, and living well out of anywhere near where you live, living in a £1 billion house and making money through exploiting you to pay rent for a damp hovel somewhere that is likely to catch fire at any moment. But hey, just like the residents in Grenfell, you could feel that rich person could feel contempt towards them but none of us are entitled to feel contempt towards the tax-dodging billionaires. We can't feel contempt. However, they can feel it for us. They can demonstrate it for us. What happened in Grenfell Tower, Grenfell House, came about again as a result of an attitude of contempt. Contempt for the powerless. Contempt for those who haven't got big fat wallets, bulging bank accounts, who don't have all those symbols of status and power to say, I've made it, I'm all right, Jack, pull up the ladder. Contempt. I'll tell you another place you see contempt as well. You see contempt in the rise of racist attitudes as well. You see contempt in racist attacks. You see contempt when people are racist in the media, when they go, oh, these people in Grenfell are all migrants anyway, they don't deserve to have anywhere else to live, and why won't they accept somewhere else to live? Because they're showing contempt of our offer towards them. No, the system and the racists and the bigots are showing contempt towards the powerless. Contempt. Absolute hate is behind that as well. And what sells in the media? Hate. Hate and contempt. How do you run the public? How do you brainwash them? How do you get them to vote for your Tory party? You show them loads of other people, apparently worse off than them, scrounging, unlike them, working hard, and you get them to show absolute contempt. I think to understand what is happening in this society, we need to recognise and understand the promotion of that emotional state, that state of being in contempt of others. Look at the DUP that the Tories have joined with. In contempt for women who, through whatever reason, have needed a termination of their pregnancy. The DUP in contempt of them. Look at them in the DUP in contempt of people who are gay. Look at religious leaders in contempt of one religion, another religion, in contempt of anybody who does not do what they say. Contempt is behind the violence in this society, the scapegoating we are encouraged to perform in this society, and contempt for others is behind the whole of the Tory party. It's just an observation, but it might perhaps help you understand things a little better. It might help us in our fight for Labour, in our fight for socialism, in our fight for social justice, in our fight to get the Tories out of a position of power. It might perhaps attract views from others who think, do you know what, sometimes I do feel a bit contemptuous. I suppose sometimes we all do, don't we? But it might make you examine why you're feeling that way. It might make you examine to whom you are supposed to direct that contempt. It might make you wonder how that contempt even got within you. Because we are all, being skillfully manipulated by those people in control. So that's really all I've got to say. But if you'd like to add anything, please do either post a video or add in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear your response on how contempt is being created, used, mediated, on how it's getting into the public mindset to be contemptuous of others.